And welcome to another episode of Goats and Rings. As usual, I'm your host, Walt Stringer, Senior Draft Analyst with the East West Football Network. Tonight I am joined by Jerry Martinez, also from the East West Football Network, and Ashanti Beasley from V for the Win. How you fellas doing tonight?
Yes, sir. Doing great.
Hey man, super excited. I mean, not only this week we have football this week, but we have very important football next week. So I mean, it's just so much football. Let's get right back. Let's get right into it. How about that?
Yeah. Ain't no such
Yep,
thing
so,
as the off season, man. No such thing.
You
No
know,
such thing.
of course, of course.
hmm
So,
I
as you
mean,
all can
I,
see,
I mean, because we just found out right now that Doug Peterson is going to be the new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So, we'll be able to touch on that a little later, but we do want to stick to the Senior Bowl, which is coming up Saturday. So, practice started 2 days ago. We've seen some pretty solid days of practice. We've seen some pretty big names perform up to the level we pretty much expected them to. We've seen some guys who have had some down days of practice. Who are some guys that really stood out to you so far, starting with you, Jerry?
Man, a guy that you told me to pay attention to at the beginning of the season, Jermaine Johnson, man. I think that he stole the show, man. That defensive end for Florida State, wow. It looks like he has all the right tools, all the right pieces and plays. I think that this kid already put himself in the top 15 pick in this upcoming draft already. I think that's how serious the buzz that he's generated for himself. So that's probably one of the names that I'll go to stick around. There's other names out there, but that one right there really solidified and seized the moment.
Yes. For sure.
Yeah, Jermaine, as we all know, was a transfer away from Georgia. Now, just think about how serious that defensive front for Georgia had to be for him to not be able to get enough snaps over there.
Huh.
I mean,
Crazy.
the scary
You know,
I think the scary part is that there's two tackles right from Georgia in this year's draft, but the one that everybody's very intrigued in is from the one that will possibly be eligible next off season, right? And that's how crazy that Georgia defensive line is.
yeah. So I mean, we're looking at Johnson. Johnson 6'6", 6'5", 6'6", roughly. 266 pounds, pretty much in that same body frame of Chase Young coming out a couple years ago. Extremely quick off the ball, long arms, very competitive, competes on each and every down. From what I've seen, he plays the run just as strong as he plays the pass. He's got an array of moves, and that motor does not stop. I've been saying for a while, in my opinion, he's 1A right up there with Thibodeau and Hutchinson. I actually believe he's the best edge in this draft. One thing that's really knocking him down, of course, is the fact that he's a senior, and there's always a bias against seniors, of course. But when you put his tape against Thibodeau's tape, there's no significant difference. And if there is, in my opinion, it pretty much weighs in Jermaine Johnson's favor.
No arguments here.
I think you hit it right in the button. For whatever reason, it's just because they're a year older than that hot shot that came out. Teams are just afraid of going after senior prospects, and they shouldn't. You know, these guys actually went back to school, refined their game, and now they're ready to come into the league.
Yeah, but you know how they're perceived. When you're a senior, you're perceived as not good enough. A guy, perfect example, D'Angelo Malone. Like, D'Angelo Malone could have came out last year. He could have came out, the linebacker for Western Kentucky. He could have came out last season, after last season. He could have came out the prior season after that, which it should have been when he came out, the season when he had the 100 tackles and he had 11 and a half sacks. He decided to go back. Now, D'Angelo Malone played 5 seasons at Western Kentucky. There's not much to gain from playing 5 seasons of college football. I wouldn't advise any of these young men to put their bodies through 5 years of college football for free.
Mhm.
So it became a point in time where not necessarily the NFL forgot about D'Angelo Malone, but when you spend that much time in college, they have way too much time to pretty much pick your entire game apart. And that's what they did with D'Angelo Malone. And Malone had a pretty solid season this year, as usual. But it's like, okay, what, you had a great season, but that's in comparison to guys like Devin Lloyd and tons of other linebackers out there who are guys who are shooting up draft boards and who are pretty much more relevant and more current in these people's minds and eyes than someone like D'Angelo Malone.
You can also throw. We were talking about him earlier. Haskell Garrett. If he came out last year, he probably would have been a first rounder. And this year, I mean, we don't really know. But what we can see and what we do see is you're gonna have yourself a potential development that could be a 3 down defensive tackle that would be a starter on anybody's team.
For sure, for sure. V, what you think about Mr. Johnson?
I think, listen, you put me on to him, man, and motor, athleticism. As soon as I seen the tape, I was like, oh my goodness, this guy gonna wreak some havoc, man. Whoever drafts this kid, like you said, he could be probably the number. When it's all said and done, you know what I'm saying? He may be the best DN in the draft. You know what I mean? I think that highly of him. Somebody gonna do due diligence. Somebody's gonna draft this kid, man. You know what I'm saying? And I don't see him. I'd be surprised if he makes it past the second round. You know what I mean? I'd be surprised. You know what I'm saying? Um, you know me, he'll look good in a Lions uniform, that's for sure. But I think Florida State is a factory, for D lineman anyway. You know what I mean? So the kid was smart to go there because what I'm saying, what kind of exposure and what kind of opportunity, like you said, to not even the kid is good, but how good is that Georgia defense? Well, they showed how good they were, and he wasn't even on their team. He was there, but wound up transferring, ultimately going to Florida State. It shows you a lot about how deep Georgia was. You know what I'm saying, on defense. Um, it's a fine line between good and a game changer, man. You know what I'm saying? You can have a bunch of good players, good pieces, but you need a game changer, man. Especially like we was talking earlier, on the defensive end, you need a game wrecker, somebody who could like I just use Aaron Donald because we just watched the game like last week. Aaron Donald said, "I don't give a damn. We ain't losing this game." You know what I'm saying? And he made two plays back to back. You know what I'm saying? And ultimately won that game for his team. And I think you need good players, but you gotta have a game changer. And I think that's what Jermaine Johnson could be. You know what I'm saying? That's just my opinion. Just by seeing him. So, you know, the sky's the limit for him. I want to see more of it. I want to see the combine. Hopefully, he displays more of his talent before the draft, and I think ultimately that might put him second round pick. You know what I mean? Depending on how he finishes out, this weekend and then in the draft. I mean, the combine.
True that. So let's take it from one game changer to another. A young man who I know me and V are very, very accustomed with being here in Big Ten country, and that's Jahan Dotson, wide receiver from Penn State, 5'11", 183 pounds, very fast, very explosive, quick twitch, very, very solid ball skills, excellent hands, track speed in the open field. Now, I think the thing with Dotson is the fact that he doesn't possess the typical, prototypical 6'2" to 6'3", 6'4" height, 210 to 220 pound body. He's not that specimen. But you can always check out, at least on sports radio, sportsamerica.com, sportsradioamerica.com, my scouting report on Jahan Dotson. And my comparison to him was Antonio Brown. I think they have that same body type. I think they're the same type of do-it-all 5'11" wide receiver who's going to play physical at the catch point, is quick enough with the feet and the handwork to get off the line, beat press coverages, has excellent hands, excellent eye control, excellent body control, and when they catch the football in the open field, it's a wrap. All you got to do is this season go back and watch the Maryland game. That's it. Go back and watch the Penn State Maryland game, and that will tell you all you need to know about what the hell Jahan Dotson's skill set is all about.
I think he had 11 catches, 200 yards, and it was just nuts, right? I think
He had about, I think, 4 touchdowns. Yeah.
yeah, but I'll tell you this: the one thing that stands out about him is he can catch anything. I mean, absolutely anything. It's insane. It's insane that what this young man can do. It's insane that like unless you paid attention to the Big Ten, and a lot of it, I understand it really depends on the area. But if you don't know this name and you've never seen anything, I mean, you missed out, man. This guy catches everything. I think that this is the type of player that the Patriots maybe would need to solidify that wide receiver to help Mac Jones progress. I know, Lion fans. I know you guys need wide receivers. Amon St. Brown really came on for you at the end, but you guys gonna need to add some more. He would be perfect and ideal, but you guys are in a tough situation, man.
Yes.
You guys had 8.5 sacks last season. You guys hold the second pick, and you got Adam had Inhom. You got Hutchinson, Inham. You got Kevin Thibodeau, and then you also have that ball. The one of the most intriguing safeties that we have not seen in a long time. I mean, we have not seen this type of safety since I want to say perhaps Sean Taylor. Yeah, Sean Taylor, man. Sean Taylor, maybe even Eric Berry, but still Sean Taylor because these guys are similar size. Eric Berry was a 5'11" type of guy. We're talking about a 6'3", 6'4", and so you guys really have an opportunity to build off of a very strong draft last year. So I really do think that man, as much as I'd love to see a wide receiver fall for you guys like this. Man, best case scenario is he's there in the second round for you guys after you guys get your defensive end, your quarterback, and maybe perhaps start building up that wide receiver group. Get that core going, man.
Yep. You're right. You speaking my language on that, right, man? But Jahan Dotson's so enticing, man. If he's there, I know he probably won't be there. I don't even gonna do myself. I ain't gonna do my emotions like that because I think that highly of him. I think he's worthy of, I think any game changer receiver is worthy of the last pick of the first round, in my opinion. If we needed a running back, I would say that's a good spot for it there. But like you said, you have to load up. Like you said, 8.5 sacks? I think that's embarrassing. You know what I mean? You gotta get playmakers, man. On defense, somebody. And then you look at our division. You look at Aaron Rodgers possibly maybe not being in Green Bay. Okay, what's the next guy to scare you? Okay, Kirk Cousins. Justin Fields. You know what I mean? If we could just lock down the defensive line, man. Just start like you said, build a corp right now. Then you can play with your toys. You know what I'm saying? Then you can get you a shiny piece. A Jamar Chase. You know what I'm saying? We ain't ready for that yet, though. You know what I'm saying? We got to get that.
You never know, and I think that ideally, the Patriots are probably the one team that would take a flyer on him. But I think with the Patriots, they seen a prospect like Devin Lloyd, and man, I'm pretty sure Bill Belichick, he loves his linebackers. Devin Lloyd to the Patriots looks like a great pairing, and you never know. You know what I mean? A prospect like this could fall to the second, and you guys are picking very early in the second round. I think you guys have the.
I seriously doubt it. Devin Lloyd is hot right now.
Okay.
He's really hot right now,
and so
he's another guy that I wouldn't mind having. All in all, I would just prefer if we traded out of that number 2 spot.
So is Nakobe Dean also from Georgia. Nakobe Dean.
I prefer Devin Lloyd.
Well, yeah, because I I think that Kobe Dean is what 6 foot when we haven't even got the official
Like
measurements.
maybe 5'10" and a half, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
He's short, but
I think Devin Lloyd's a
To me,
6'3".
he's more of a luxury linebacker. If you already have pretty much, if you're running a 3-4 and you have your two big thumpers in the middle of that defense of that 3-4, and you want him on that outside weak side or possibly weak side strong, you can use it. I wouldn't take him not in our situation, even though I think he would help. I think a guy like Devin Lloyd is a linebacker we could potentially build our defense around. And on
Yeah.
top of that, when I look at the Kobe Dean, go back and watch that Georgia film. Like, he was running clean. Jordan Davis was the MVP of that defense. He was running clean lanes completely to the quarterback. Not to say he wasn't working for his sacks, wasn't working for his tackles, but Jordan Davis was the unsung hero of that defense. I think for a lot of people, not just him. They've got what 3 first-round picks on that defensive line over the next 2 years potentially.
mhm.
Perhaps.
So like I've said it once and I'll say it again. I would prefer if we got out of that number 2 pick, if we can move back. I would much rather have say Kyle Hamilton and Jermaine Johnson over just Kayvon Thibodeau at number 2.
Yeah, yeah. Hamilton from Notre Dame, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he
Well,
played ball.
he's been my guy for a minute. I think if you
Well,
put him on the back end, you pair him and you got him pairing with Amani Warrior and
Uh,
the corner for
Miller Farm.
Syracuse,
Yeah, Miller Farm.
Ifiatu, yeah,
Yeah.
Melifonwu. We
hmm
don't know what's going on with Jeff Okuda, but I don't want to get that far, that deep off into the Lions, man.
Yeah,
I
right.
don't want to get that deep off into the Lions, but we can move on to somebody, one of the more polarizing figures in this entire draft class, not just the Senior Bowl, but quarterback Sam Howell. Now, Sam had an interesting journey here. Sam was a very, very highly recruited player out of high school, 5-star recruit, went to North Carolina, threw the ball all over the field his freshman year, looked great, looked like a potential top 10 pick, had a pretty solid following season, the sophomore season, threw
hmm
for a ton of yards, lost a lot of people.
he did.
Now, the thing is this. I'm not one of those people. If I see you play great, it's like you damned if you do, damned if you don't. If I play great with a bunch of talent around me, I'm just riding coattails. If I play terrible with garbage around me, I'm not good enough and I'm not elevating anybody. Now, what I saw when I go back and I watched the film on Sam Howell for this past season, Sam played like a guy who had to do it all himself. Like that was a young football team that was out there with Sam Howell this past season. Now, personally, I don't think he's the number 1 quarterback on the board. Not personally, not for me. I'm still high on Sam Howell. I think he's a guy that if you put him in the right system, for a long time I thought it would be Sean Payton in New Orleans, but that's not going to happen now, obviously. But I think he's a guy. He throws the best deep ball in the class, period. Even though I think Malik Willis has a stronger arm, Sam's touch on that deep ball is tremendous, and he consistently goes through his progressions. So, what do you guys think about Sam Howell?
I think, remember I was telling you, 3-year starter, put up some good numbers, man. Like I looked up, remember I said 2019, what was it, 3,600 yards, 38 touchdowns. That was like his best year 3 years ago. And you know what? Valid point, Walt, especially last year. I didn't think he still threw like 30 touchdowns. I mean, he's thrown 30 all 3 years. So Sam Howell, like you said, could be a system quarterback with the right weapons around him, right system, right coach, right everything got to be right. And I think he can be productive. Obviously, if he um, you know, can put up numbers like that in a COVID year, he still had 30 touchdowns, and then last year, what I'm saying, to play 12, 13 games and still put up, almost 3,700 yards. That's impressive, man. So Sam Howell, this is my question. This is my problem with Sam Howell right now. It's like he's got to separate himself. Okay, Is he the number one quarterback in this draft? Is he? Other people. Me personally, I don't think he is either. But I mean, okay, is after the first quarterback is gone, is he the next quarterback? You know what I mean? He's got to really give people to say other people. I mean, other GMs like we don't get our guy, then Sam Howell will be more than admirable to do the job. You know what I'm saying? Like he the first, second, third, fifth, seventh quarterback. You know what I mean? Is he that far down the list? I don't know where he's gonna place himself. You know what I'm saying? I don't know in the pecking order where is Sam Howell at right now. I got to see a little bit more, especially the combine. I want to see, some more of Sam Howell this offseason.
I think he looked good. I think that aside from today, I think Malik Willis kind of was a standout, and that's because yesterday, well, today they're playing indoors, right, in the Senior Bowl practices or practicing indoors. Yesterday they were actually outdoor, and with Malik Willis, you could see how alive that arm is. But that's never ever been a question for Sam Howell. Sam Howell, at one point, everybody's like, "Oh, he's a Baker Mayfield clone," but with a stronger arm. And I mean, we could see it when he had that talent on the field. We know what he can do. So I think Sam Howell is one of those prospects that, if anything, I like his attitude. But this season, I think that he pressed too much, trying to replicate what he had in 2019. So I think it's not over, and I think that Sam Howell has the potential to be an actual franchise quarterback for any team in the NFL. He has all the physical traits.
Yep, he does. And Baker Mayfield that was a great comparison. I was thinking a little bit more Tony Romo a little bit. Don't laugh at me, but I was thinking that like the
Oh
Bill.
man.
Tony Romo probably laugh at me. He heard me say that, but that was what I thought too. A little bit.
Man, Tony Romo. I love me some Tony Romo. Just so people
Mhm.
don't
Man.
out there know, I am a
Well,
Dallas Cowboy.
Yeah, but okay,
I'm
now is Malik Willis is he the number one quarterback y'all think right now?
I think that
well.
right now.
Hold on. Let's talk
Okay.
about it then.
All right, let's do it.
I sorry, Walt. I didn't mean to go too far on you.
No, let's talk about this.
Malik Willis. I mean, he was relatively an unknown. Now, I didn't even know he was at Auburn and transferred. I had to look it up, and I didn't know he barely even played at Auburn, so I can see why he left at the time. I can't believe how they disrespect who was the quarterback. The reason why he left Auburn, first of all.
Bo Nix. When did Bo
Oh,
Nix?
okay,
Yeah,
Bo Nick.
yeah.
Okay, that's what it was. Okay, and at Liberty, I mean, the stats don't wow you. And I watched the bowl game that they played, their bowl game this year. Obviously, when you look at Liberty, you say, okay, you roll your eyes and say, man, okay, did he actually play against top flight talent? You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to disrespect him like that. I mean, you only can play who's in front of you. And now in the individual workouts, and we all see that he had an admirable workout and stood out. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that's by accident, man. You know what I'm saying? I think it's not his fault that he's playing against, maybe not the top defenses in college football. You know what I'm saying? Because of where he's going. So I think that, if you can overlook that part, if you can overlook, like I said, get over him going to Liberty, just like Trey Lance last year. I think this kid got a ton of talent, man, a ton of ability, arm strength, like Walt hit on. I think it's something there, man, with Malik Willis. I think the sky's the limit. What team gonna have the balls to take the kid? You know what I mean? That's the way I look at it. I wouldn't be upset one bit the Lions took this kid. You know what I mean? From what I see.
I mean, we saw. I mean, he had some wild games this last past season, and he had some games where we're like, oh, this does not look good on his resume. And we talked about this during the season. Well, but
Yeah.
and what was it? Yesterday, you could see that his arm is really lively. I don't know what's the right word to put on there because I don't want to sound like a cliche, but he can do things with the ball that we only see certain quarterbacks right now in the NFL do with
Right.
that arm. Today he looked way better. He stood out a little bit more. Uh, I mean, not that Sam Howell didn't have a good day. Sam Howell had a good day, but I think that Malik Willis set himself apart from trying to capitalize on this lead, get that momentum for the actual Senior Bowl game, right? And
Right.
the only thing is, I will say this: I did notice the Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin was right there, just smiling and grinning and loving what he was seeing out of Malik Willis. So I'll tell you this: if I'm a Lions fan, I'm gonna have to
Man.
play some. I'm gonna have to play. I'm gonna have to play my cards right because Steelers are picking right there in the teens,
Yeah.
and
Well,
Right.
they need a quarterback.
I told y'all it
right.
scared me to death, man. That pick, because I'm telling y'all, when that run of quarterbacks start, it's gonna be frantic, man. Trading up, trading down, trading it, getting out of this pick to try to get the guy you want, man. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's what I'm afraid of is gonna happen.
Well, I'm gonna say this. I'm a big Malik Willis fan. I was a back in the day. Back in the day, it was only damn near 3 years ago. But even back then, I was a huge Josh Allen fan coming out of college. I was a huge Justin Herbert fan coming out of college.
Cam
I'm
Newton.
Mhm.
just, I think, yeah, Cam. Well, not necessarily. I was a fan of Cam's, but I always knew that Cam's issue was going to come back to his accuracy, and that's what it always came back to throughout his career. But
You're right.
I'm, I'm just aside from Joe Burrow, I'm a big fan of. As a quarterback, I need to be able to see your physical talent.
Hmm.
That's the whole thing for me. I need to be able to see your physical talent. Take a look around the league at the guys who are really winning. Now, aside from Joe Burrow isn't really going to physically wow you. But when you look at Justin Herbert, you can see Justin Herbert's talent.
Baller,
When you
man.
look,
Baller.
when you look at Josh Allen and the way Josh Allen buzzsawed through the New England Patriots in the playoffs, and the
Baller.
way he gave the Chiefs all they can handle. You can see Josh Allen's physical ability. You can see Lamar Jackson's ability. When you look at Malik Willis and compare him to the rest of this class, you can see his ability.
Yes.
His ability is louder than everyone else's. Now, did
It
he have some
is.
struggles at Liberty? Yes, he did, but he
Yeah.
still put up monster numbers. He dominated where you wanted him to dominate. He threw for 27 touchdowns this year, and I believe he ran for another 13 to 14.
Hmm.
I mean, you're
And
talking
that
about a
ball,
dual threat.
and then you look at that arm. He forces you to defend every blade of grass with that arm and the legs. Like he's a weapon.
Hmm.
And if I'm going to take a gamble on anybody, it would be him. If I needed a quarterback, the gamble would be on him because the payoff is too tremendous.
Right. And it would behoove the Lions to do something like that because, like you say, you got Jared Goff, and then you could say, okay, we could take this kid. This is our future. This is our cornerstone. This is going to be the guy who's going to take us to the promised land. You know what I'm saying? But let him sort of just follow blueprint, sort of what the 49ers did with Trey Lance. You know what I'm saying? Now Trey Lance ready to play ball. You know what I'm saying? And if you take Malik Willis, you don't have to throw him in there the first year. That's why I'm all for it
Yep.
too. You know what I'm saying? You could say, hey, just let's survey everything. Obviously, Jared Goff seemed like he a kind of guy that could that would, show him the ropes or be a mentor. And then man, when you turn him loose, then you got something. You know what I'm saying? And like you said, Walt, just set you up for years to come. You know what I mean? I think that's the ideal situation. The team, if you told me who's going to take this kid, that's what scares me because I don't know. Like, I'm just saying, scare me if I'm a Lions fan, not for him because that kid's about to be, a
Well,
known commodity.
well, I'm not going to say who, but I was combing through the internet a few days ago, and I saw a mock draft that had the Detroit Lions taking Malik Willis at number 2 when it was all said and done. And it got me thinking because I was watching practice today, the American team practice. They really, and all the reports coming out of there is that they really like him.
Mm-hmm.
I
And
saw.
there's a lot to be said about it when everybody else is involved in the playoffs and winning and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and and
Right.
you're over here and you got first dibs on all of these players.
Mm-hmm.
They get to see exactly what makes them tick. How do they comprehend the entire playbook? You give it to them on Monday. Do they know it by Tuesday afternoon? Can they go through the progressions? Is he keeping the ball in the air? Is he putting the ball on the ground? Are guys catching the ball? You get every opportunity in the very first opportunities to really put your hands on these prospects. But it's also can be a gift and a curse because you don't want to fall in love with these guys too early. There's
Man,
a
well
combine
said.
coming up,
Right.
Well said.
Right.
Well said.
you
Yep,
know.
that you hit the nail on the head, Walt. Like I said, I think he's in the mix. Let's be honest. We know this kid. He's gonna get drafted. And he's gonna be one of the top quarterbacks. But like you said, I just
Well,
want to see more of the measurables. I want to see the arm talent. When it's just him on. Now this is where we play. They play a team game, but
I,
now it's individual. You know what I'm saying? Let's see the individual aspect of it.
I see a kid.
would it shock either one of you if he was the number 2 overall pick?
No,
Uh,
Given the fact
uh,
that quarterbacks, because that's the thing I think when it's all said and done, and I know it's still early, V, we're gonna have plenty of discussions about this. I just believe that if the Lions stay at number 2, they're gonna take a quarterback. I think the value of that pick, and Brad Holmes keeps bringing up the same thing over and over again. He talks about value of picks, and having numerous holes on this team that needs to be fixed. That's why I feel if they stay at number 2, it's either quarterback or nothing, or they move out.
and this is what I wanted to add real quick about Malik Willis. I see a kid that is fearless and is eager to get out there and I mean put on a show for everybody to see. He's gonna light it up. Number two, I think that your best play is the Eagles. The Eagles are always looking for either a quarterback or a safety. They've been known to actually actively look for a safety. Now, can I ask you both a question right now? Is there a safety in this year's draft that you can see anybody wanting to get ahead of maybe the Giants or anybody and secure that
Uh,
draft pick? Is there any safety out there in this year's draft?
well, of course, it's Kyle Hamilton, but I think
Exactly.
another guy. But I think there's another guy who is going to be climbing up boards very, very fast, especially come combine time. And V knows this young man. That's Dax Hill from
mhm,
Oh yeah,
Michigan.
yeah.
yeah.
Dax Hill
Yeah.
is very, very versatile. He's 6'1", 205. He runs like a corner. He changes directions like a corner. He has ball skills. He's very aggressive, playing in Don Brown's defense and also the defense he was in this season. He blitzed a whole lot at Michigan. They brought him off the edge. Dax Hill is a hell of a football player,
Well,
and I can see him.
the reason why I was mentioning that was because the Eagles have they have a nice range of picks that they
Right.
can actually move down
Yep.
and get into a range where Malik Willis would seem not that bad at second overall, right? But I think the NFL should maybe learn something from the Eagles. Keep on drafting the quarterback until you find the one that you want. And from there, I mean, if you're not going to use him or somebody else need a quarterback, use him as collateral and trade them off. I mean, look at this. How were they able to maneuver and get 3 first round draft picks in this year's draft? Obviously, one of them came from
You know
Carson
how
Wentz. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
one of them came from Carson
that
Wentz.
the hoodwinked
So
the Colts.
so,
Right. Right.
but getting back on subject, you know, uh, I think that a safety like Kyle Hamilton will intrigue some teams like the Giants and whatnot. And I'm pretty sure the Eagles would like to get you know younger at that age. I mean, we saw when they were winning that Super Bowl, they had Malcolm Jenkins, and
Hmm.
are you telling me that Kyle Hamilton cannot do what Malcolm Jenkins was doing for them?
Well, Kyle Hamilton. It reminds me. of a same Notre Dame guy. He reminds me of a Harrison Smith type. You know what I'm saying? Big hitter, good
That's look,
size.
yeah,
Just you know what I'm saying?
upright,
Just a guy
upright, yeah.
you gotta account for him, man. I count, hey, dude. You know when he back there. You know what I'm saying? When 22 back there, you know. And that's that again. And like you said, Jerry, that's the kind of guy. Like you said, that he's gonna be a first round. I'd be surprised if he don't be a first round pick. You know what I'm saying? And somebody's gonna want that kid. Heck, I want him, but I want everybody. But you know, that's how bad we are. But it is what it is. Like I was saying earlier, we put a premium on. It should be a premium on a franchise safety. Look at Harrison Smith been in the league for seemed like forever, but he just steady, big hitter, does his job. Play the line of scrimmage. He can drop back in coverage. It's just he's a clone, man. He's a clone of Harrison Smith. If you ask me.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, I mean, we know
if he was to fall, he ain't gonna fall past the Vikings. I'm just saying that right now.
Yeah,
yeah.
I can see it. Yep, I agree. I agree with
Um, but real quick, let's get back onto a couple other standouts, right? Because I know that we were talking about that.
Oh yeah.
Uh, so some other names that really like caught my eye aside from Jermaine Johnson was uh, Kingsley, and
Nogbre.
yeah, he looks good. I think that the Yukon defensive tackle, I would love to see the Cowboys maybe invest into something like this. Travis Jones,
Travis Jones. Yeah.
man, I mean, he showed you
Yeah,
that he
man.
can play the nose and the one and get the actual penetration, right? That you need to have. I know that the Cowboys have invested these last 3 years in the defensive line, but it just seems like we're missing that. We're missing that, and we need to get a little bit younger. You know, Demarcus Lawrence is up in age, and his contract is getting a little bit out of hand. Also, the Baylor safety, Jalen Petrie. I think that
Hmm.
this young man, uh, I think that this young man is gonna ball out in the NFL. He understands assignments. Uh, he looked good. He looked good in this Senior Bowl. And Georgia's defensive tackle Devontae Wyatt, of course. Offensive guards. I think the only offensive linemen that kind of stood out and were Zion Johnson out of Boston College and I know this is gonna maybe make some people freak out, but Penning. But Trevor Penning just plays with some kind of attitude. Kind of reminds me of how what was his name? Jenkins, the one that Chicago Bears drafted. Uh,
Te- Tevin Jenkins.
Tevin Jenkins, and the way
Yeah.
they play with this tenacity. Man, he's just looking to. I mean, he's looking to pancake guys unnecessarily. So, I mean, these are some names right here. I think not only that could benefit maybe the Cowboys, but definitely benefit the Lions, and especially with the picks that you guys have ready and locked and
Well,
loaded.
You know what? Another guy I was just gonna say, a guy I'm intrigued about. We talking, but I love the defense guys, man. I love the defensive guy, defensive line. I was telling Walt earlier. You look at a guy like Isaiah Thomas, okay, from Oklahoma. Tall, lanky guy. I want to see him in action a little bit more. It's almost like they were saving them for something. I don't know. But maybe it's the scheme. Maybe Oklahoma they not really known for their defense
scheme.
anyway. You know what I mean? Because they score a lot of points with Lincoln Riley. Lincoln Riley was there. But I want to see more. It seems like this kid can turn into to be a NFL prospect. Every team has that one edge rusher, whether you name it. 49ers got a couple of those guys coming off the edge, tall, not necessarily like they like muscle bound guys, but they got guys that could just come off the edge. You know what I mean? Wreak havoc, long arms, get up in them passing lanes. Put the arms up. Can beat the man just off pure speed. You know what I'm saying? I think Isaiah Thomas is a real interesting prospect. You know what I'm saying? Third, fourth round. Something like that. That's what I'm thinking for him. But um,
Yeah.
you could never have you could never have too many D linemen, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? Guys, you could switch out of there. So
Yeah, I think Thomas is a guy that was probably played out of position a lot at
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma. I don't understand why he wasn't kicked outside a lot more. Why they put him a lot inside at three tech. I saw him at two techniques sometimes. Dude is 6'5", 266 pounds. He should be on the outside. I never understood why they played him on the inside as much as they did. But a guy that I do want to talk about is his teammate, and that's Perryon Winfrey.
No,
Um,
yeah, you high on him, man.
Wow,
yeah,
wow.
Perrion's an interesting guy, man. Now, throughout the season, I wasn't really that impressed with him. I was impressed with his motor, but he's out there whooping ass at the Senior Bowl in practice.
Yes, he is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he is.
You know that first step. It's the first step, and it's the handwork. Now he's a guy that's kind of cut, kind of high. He's got long arm, not all long arms, but he's got long arms. He got long legs, kind of a short upper torso. So it's kind of a Davion Nixon body from last year from Iowa, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So he kind of looks undersized, but Perrion's a disruption. He's a disruption consistently, and he's starting to look closer to maybe the top D tackle in this draft.
I'll buy that. I'll buy that for sure.
Wow. I mean, I think that he had a good matchup today. What was it? What was his name? Strange. Who do you go against?
Well,
Stuber.
everybody got a help. Everybody had a couple good reps on Strange, but Strange managed to battle back. He had some good reps of his own too.
Yeah, he did. But it was a good matchup though. Overall, like it allowed you to see. It allowed you to see, like you said, for the Isaiah Thomas situation, but Winfrey, getting back on Winfrey also. I mean, dang, he was balling out today too. So I mean, I think I said it before we even went on the air. I think that this draft class is kind of like a more of a blue collar draft class. Yeah, we have a couple of superstars in it, but for the most part, you're gonna have some blue collars. They're gonna work their way up. They're gonna work. They're gonna work hard. A lot of them are seniors, man. A lot of them have been, they've been playing a position for a while. Some of them have had to mix up a variety of different positions, right? Not only on the defensive side, but on the offensive side too.
Yep, for sure, for sure. That's a
Definitely.
really good point. That's a good point, Jerry. That's what I look at too. The maturity factor. These guys are seniors. Some of them, 4-year guy. Like I'm just putting one of your guys out there, Walk, because you brought him up. So I'm using your guy, your tight end at Isaiah Likely, right?
Why
That
not?
kid, that kid played 4 years at Coastal Carolina. I'm a stat guy, and when you have double-digit touchdowns in college, it's something to be said for that. To have 900 yards, 12 touchdowns as a tight end, dude can play ball, man, and to play 4 years somewhere, to be a starter somewhere, just shows the maturity. Now you ready to play ball now. I think that you're a young man. You got your body together. You done been there, done that. On that level, you done went as far as you can go on the collegiate level. Now it's time. It's time to play ball, man, and make a name for yourself. I think that whoever gets this kid, this Isaiah Likely, man, they're gonna get a hell of a tight end. They're gonna get a steal. Whoever takes him, you know what I mean? Because he's that good. Just by looking on the tape, just looking at the stats, just looking at the measurables, he looked the part. You got in my book, you got to look the part. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that, and the dude who is Coastal Carolina's court, is he even a senior? I didn't even look that up. I'm sorry, I
Man,
didn't do my
I like
Oh,
I like that quarterback. I like that quarterback a
yeah.
lot, man. Uh,
Okay.
Did
Yeah.
I don't.
did didn't he did he
I,
transfer?
I think so, man. But I like that kid, man. He has a nice arm, man. So he benefited from having a pretty good quarterback. That's what
Good
it was.
quarterback. Okay. Yeah.
But
Well,
but
I,
but he generated a bunch of buzz today that it just drove his stock up high. I mean, I don't know if he's going to be in the first round, right? Because you still got Trey McBride, who also had a great day, and a lot of people that have been following Trey McBride for a while, they actually have said that he was the featured tight end at Colorado State some people say, hey man, this guy could probably develop into being the next George Kittle, which is kind of hard, right? Because there's only one George Kittle, but still, these
Mm-hmm.
two these two young men, Likely and McBride, really helped themselves out today. But I think that these are the type of tight ends that can be like a Dalton Schultz, right? Find their role, find their niche, and just work with a team. And a tight end is basically the quarterback's best friend. So, you become a good friend to the quarterback, you're going to get that ball fed. And Likely showed up today. He showed up, and he showed us that he can be a uh, uh, a tight end that can play in the NFL.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah, I think. Well, for one, I think Trey McBride and Isaiah Likely are two completely different tight ends.
Oh yeah,
Trey McBride is a huge road grader who's going to block. He's going to come down and chop block. He's going to back block. He's going to get out in space and get down on safeties and run down on linebackers and corners. He's also going to run almost every route that you need him to run within 20 yards. So, but when you compare him to Isaiah Likely is just way more explosive. He's more of an H back. Even when you look at his body, he's 6'4", 240 pounds, but he's built like Antonio Gates. You
I
know,
like
that
that.
that thick that thick lower body, long arms, deceptively fast. But what really shocked me was the amount of downfield touchdowns he was able to get at Coastal Carolina. Like, this guy was consistently outrunning secondaries. That's why I'm really intrigued to see what he runs at his pro day at Coastal Carolina Pro Day, as well as the combine if he chooses to run at the combine. But I mean, I agree with V completely. I think he's a guy who, when it comes to guys like that, come from schools like that, and Coastal Carolina isn't necessarily a small school, but
It's
when you
not.
come from a school that's not that Power Five big fella conference school, they want to say, okay, you know what? We saw you dominate against this other competition, which is still top flight competition, if you want to be honest. It's not the SEC, but it's still actually top flight competition. But when you dominate at that level and then you show up in an environment, a foreign environment, where there's a bunch of guys throwing you footballs, never threw you footballs before a day in your life. You've got coaches screaming in your ear, telling you to do this and do that, guys you never met a day in your life. And you still go out there and you still manage to kick ass.
Mhm.
That's why he's turning so many heads right now. Because it's hard to see guys that come from schools like him that show up at Senior Bowls and games like this against the seniors from Wisconsin and Florida and Texas and Michigan and Alabama. And you out there, you're lowly Isaiah Likely from Coastal Carolina, and you're out there kicking ass of these guys from the SEC. So I think the hype is legit for him right now. Now, a guy like Charlie Kolar I think he's seeing his stock kind of drop. Another guy who's there, but I think the hype is real right now with Isaiah Likely.
I
Yep.
mean, I don't know if it's first round buzz, but he really helped himself out, man. And
Yeah,
I mean, we've seen second round is usually the last couple of years. The second round has been dominating for tight ends. Um,
yeah,
as far as tight ends drafted, the second round has been. It looks like that's kind of like where a lot of teams try to tend to target their tight ends. I mean,
yeah,
heck, the Dallas Cowboys did that with Jason Wynn. I believe it was a second round draft pick. So
yeah.
just saying, it's not a good. It's
But
not a bad spot.
Jerry, let's move on to a guy I know you know very well, and it's Darian Kendrick, corner from Georgia. Now, he was transferred, came from Clemson, had some off-field issues. Don't really want to get into that.
Yep.
But Darian Kendrick is a very intriguing prospect. Good
Mm-hmm.
size, good weight, good speed, good athleticism, long arms, solid ball skills. What do you think Kendrick can really do at this Senior Bowl to show people he's still a first-round talent? Because this is a guy who was considered to be a first-round talent last year
Oh yeah,
before some things began to transpire for him.
man. I think honestly, I think takeaways right is the answer for him. And I'm not saying that he can't take away the ball because I mean he's shown in the past that he can take away the ball. But like you said, height, weight, measurable, everything the today's NFL is looking for, he has it. And then he has a championship pedigree. So I think if anything, what it's going to take for him to really be able to turn things around is win these teams over in the interview room. I think that's what it's going to come down to with him because it has nothing to do with his play. His play speaks for itself. He shows up and he's able to, line up against some of the best, and you know, nothing could take away that he's a national champion.
Well, also, he's played the best competition at two of the
Yes,
best schools in America.
Clemson.
Yeah.
Yeah, Clemson and
So,
obviously Georgia, and the SEC. Everybody knows SEC is where to play. That's why Texas and Oklahoma will be in the SEC in 2025. So, I mean, I think uh, obviously, do I like the prospect? Yes, I like what he has to offer. I think that if anything, he does also have the right attitude and mindset to play. I just think that with him, he's gonna have to win over a lot of teams in the interview process.
You know what? Excuse me, y'all. I'm looking at wide receiver prospects, and Wall. No, I was high on. He ain't even in the in the Senior Bowl. But I want to ask about Dante. How y'all feel about Dontario Drummond? I don't know. I've been hearing a little bit of buzz about this kid. Um, I mean, he play Ole Miss. I think Coral's the quarterback, right, for Ole
Matt
Miss.
Corral, yeah,
Yeah, Matt Corral. Which I
yeah.
kind of like him a little bit too, but I think he got screwed because he got hurt in the bowl game. Man, total that was bad for him. To
I,
get
I
hurt.
don't I don't really feel bad for Matt Corral because the thing with Matt Corral is that the league knows him. You see, Matt Corral actually came out the same year as Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence. In fact, I think he was what number 3, right behind them. So he's
That's what I go
been
for.
he's been right there, right behind him. In fact, the Elite 11 that Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields came out in, the most watched Elite 11 of all time, Matt Corral came out in that one. The only thing is that Matt Corral unfortunately had to transfer a couple times to. I think he was with the Gators. I think right. That's where he started off with.
I thought it was was it Alabama? Didn't he commit to Alabama?
I think he committed to the Gators, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was
Well,
Florida. I could be mistaken. It's just there's just these young men are so young, and with the way this transfer portal been working, I don't like it. I'm sorry, but I understand. Hey, man, kids they're not making the money, and these schools are making money off of them. So I mean, if you find in a school that can bring out the best in you, might as well do it.
well, the comment on Dartario Drummond. He's fast, quick. He has a lot of wasted movement. Like it seems like he has to do way too much sometimes to get off the line of scrimmage. If you get what I mean, with that, it
Yeah,
there he's got some good characteristics.
he
He's
does.
got some good tools. I'm just not so sure if I compare him to what I'm used to seeing come out of Ole Miss. When you look
Yeah.
at AJ Brown, you look at DK Metcalf, and even even when Laquan Treadwell was there.
Mhm.
Now Treadwell didn't turn out to be much at the next level, but Treadwell was still pretty much a pretty productive player when he was there. Even Elijah Mitchell for that matter. I
Oh
just
yeah, love
I'm
Elijah
not.
Mitchell.
I don't even think Dontario Drummond is in the same category with Elijah Mitchell.
Hmm.
I think Drummond is probably mid to late second after that, depending on how the rest of the receivers begin to fall in front of him.
I also, you know what, I see because I'm high on Carson Strong, and I did hear a report that Romeo Dobbs.
Hmm.
He made his mark. Like I said, I didn't see it, but I did hear it. And the only reason why I bring it up because I do like Carson Strong. You know what I mean? In the
Hmm.
back. Um, I didn't I didn't see anything on Romeo Dobbs that really like in the game. I remember I watched a couple Nevada games. I don't remember ever seeing Dobbs like make an impact. So I mean, I really can't make an opinion on him. You know what I'm saying like that. But I see he made the cut. As far as in the game. So I'd like to go back and see. He could be an interesting prospect too. Especially with his quarterback in the draft as well.
Well, you know what? Since we're on wide receivers and we get ready to wind this down, Calvin Austin from Memphis. Now, he's 5'9", 162 pounds. He averaged over 16 yards per catch the past 2 seasons and had 19 touchdowns. And this dude has been cooking people these first couple days. Like Calvin Austin is small, but he is competitive, man. Like I love seeing the 5'9", 5'10" guys out there that's under 200 pounds compete for jump balls and compete to fight off the line of scrimmage. I really like Calvin Austin from Memphis. It seems like they keep churning out these real undersized playmakers,
Mhm.
but he's a guy that's explosive as hell, man. I can see the Lions taking a flyer on a guy like him in the third round, maybe fourth round, depending on what he runs. If he runs a sub 4.3, you can see him
Yeah,
work his way into the early second.
for
But
sure.
he's a guy. He's a guy who can contribute on special teams. He can contribute at third, fourth, or fifth receiver. You can give him the ball out of the backfield. He's a weapon, and you know the Lions need every weapon they can get on offense.
Mhm. That's right.
Let me ask you. Let me ask you both. I guess the question. Whoever wants to answer can answer it. Is this the year the Lions draft a quarterback? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes,
Wow.
I think they shock a lot of people and it happens. I'm not going to say where they take the quarterback, but
that's the question.
the thing is this: when you're a brand new regime, brand new head coach, brand new GM, granted you traded away Stafford, you brought in Jared Goff, your career can't be tied to Jared Goff, and you understand that, and you also understand that the quarterback room, just like any other room, you need to consistently upgrade the talent that's behind your starter. Tim
Hmm.
Boyle cannot be back next season. David Blau cannot be back next season.
Hmm.
I don't care if you go out and you sign a free agent and you draft a guy in the third round. You have to upgrade that quarterback position, and you must
Hmm.
pick a quarterback at some point in time. Even
Yeah,
if you don't view him as the starter, you have to have somebody else in that stable.
yeah, you do. You exactly. You know what I mean? Just in my opinion, like y'all know, what I've been saying about it the last couple hours. It's just when are you gonna do it? Like you said, and Malik Willis is man. The upside
Enticing.
the upside is crazy. You know what I'm saying? Upside is crazy. You know what I'm saying? And I think, like you said, the combine comes, the measurables, the
The pro
individual
days,
workouts, pro that I think it's going his stock's gonna shoot through the roof, man. And the Lions they got a dilemma. What they want to do? Do you want a good player? Do you want to win, or do you want a franchise changing quarterback that can set can set a franchise up for the next 10 years, 10, 12 years, whatever you want to call it. But absolutely take a quarterback this year. You know what I'm saying? Whoever it is, whether I'd rather have Malik Willis right now, but whether it's Howe, Carson Strong, what's the Ritter kid from Cincinnati,
Cincinnati.
it's one of the, like you say, you got to get a young quarterback in your system, man. I think, every couple years, you know what I mean? Even if you remember how many times, we in this situation. Look at the quarterback process. Y'all know, Stafford was here. Who did he take? Brad Kaya. Remember him, Brad Kaya
Yeah,
from Miami. They never
yeah.
really, they took Jake
Jake
Rudock.
Rudock.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it was like they never ever, went the drafting a young quarterback route. You know what I'm saying? Look at Jordan
Right.
Love. Even if Green Bay say, you know what, we moving on from Aaron Rodgers, at least they got Jordan Love right now in the system. You know what I'm saying? They've had him in the system and they ready to play ball. You know what I'm saying with Jordan
Right.
Love. So Alliance gotta get in that mode too. I agree.
Well,
Well
all right,
said. Well said.
fellas.
One last question before we get off. Are you both cheering for the Rams in the Super Bowl?
I'm not. I'm chewing for Joe. Chewing. I'm cheering for Joe Burrow, man. You already know.
Oh man, you can't believe you're doing Stafford like that, man. All right.
So much swag. Joe Burrow got so much swag. I cannot bet against. I love Joe Burrow. I'm going Cincinnati, man. I've been struggling with it.
I'm hoping for a Bengals win. I think that I think this is one of the teams. I think that after that, the Lions are next. Obviously, the Lions can see what Joe Burrow could do for your team. Can you imagine you found your Joe Burrow in this year's draft? In 2 seasons, they are no longer the Bungles. They're the Cincinnati Bengals. And you got to respect Houday. And I really hope I'm that's what I would love to see, because the Rams are totally opposite than what we saw. They got their core, and after their core, they just sold the farm to just for one Super Bowl, which it feels like, right? One and done. So yeah, that's hey, I love talking some more of this football. Let's all get on this again sometime soon, man. I appreciate you having me on the show, Walt.
All right. Well, all right, fellas. Like I said, it's been a pleasure having you guys on. We got a Senior Bowl coming up Saturday. I'm gonna be back Saturday talking with you. I know V for sure. Until then, peace out. Stay up and stand out.
What's up, y'all?